Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be giving you the best guide to leveling your brand new account. Going to give you all the best practices from every area. We're going to talk about best starting factions, pros and cons, building priorities. We'll talk about College of Order priorities, which is your academy tech, heroes, which ones are good to focus on in the beginning, how that's loosely connected to starting faction, PvE, PvP. PvE is interesting because we're going to also talk about how you can basically grind free dust and free experience when it comes to not taking damage with your units, or very minimal so you can stay out longer. PvP, we'll talk about policies, which ones you should be focusing on order. Dragon Trail, the benefit there. We'll talk about VIP and how to take advantage of that. Events, so we'll go over some of the starting events and then some that you can kind of get, and then where you can get more information on events, and even an event kingdom timeline that I'm putting together as well. So if anyone has stuff they want to add to that, just like anything here in this guide video that maybe I just don't have fully complete, please let me know and I'll definitely make sure to add it to the spreadsheet. We're going to talk about artifacts, we'll talk about scout camps, and then we'll talk about quests. So there's a good amount to talk about, and of course I will have timestamps in the description below, and you can also find those on the bottom play bar, which is that red bar that you can use to fast forward and go to certain times in the video where we'll have title cards there, so I'll let you know what section you're on. Of course, before we get started, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. Okay, as we settle and transition into our casual mode, let's first start off with factions. So I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way back in here so I can pop this open. Where's my agua? So I'm going to show a little bit off here because we did briefly touch on this when it came to, what is the ideal starting faction? And in short, what we ended up coming up with and deciding is that League of Order overall is the best starting faction if you're looking to progress and develop as an individual free-to-play player. Now, this guide is also coming from a free-to-play perspective, so if you do spend money, right, just kind of add on or elevate some of the areas that I touch on which are relevant. The reason why I believe blue is the best starting faction, we made a video on it, so I'm just really going to give you the TLDR here, is that for a free-to-play player, what I'm noticing just from my time playing in Server 2 thus far is that gathering is so important. Just having resources is so important. And even though I'm doing quite a few things, right, even though I'm not necessarily 100% gathering, sometimes we're building, sometimes we might be destroying an inactive flag, or we're building a road, or you're upgrading a flag into a tower, maybe you're building another fortress. These are things that you have to expend marches on in order to do so, right? And obviously you have more free time once you get to your 4th and your 5th march. Getting to your 3rd march isn't really that challenging, but getting to 4 and 5 is really once it starts kind of becoming a struggle a bit, and we'll show you that here in game on what those requirements are. So that's why I feel the benefits here of the gather speed plus 10%, the Legion magic defense, the workhorses, which I think is very important, right? This is workhorses are transport units used by the League, right? So they basically just have a higher load capacity. You also have your Vestals, right, which give you kind of increased HP for nearby friendly legions. So I like that, but for me, really the big standouts here is the gather speed and the workhorses. Now, I will say, if we're just going off of pure best ROI, then rhinos really are giving you that because you're getting extra resources when you exhaust a resource point. Right now, maybe that's a percentage of the amount you've gathered. We're not entirely too sure there yet, but if someone does know, I'd love to see a comment below, and maybe I'll throw that in a pin comment up top. The other really want to talk about is Guanwin, who's the peacekeeping commander here for the... Gosh, why am I forgetting this faction name right in front of me? Spring Wardens. And so some have argued that, hey, starting with a Peacekeeper is beneficial as well. What I will say is this. Once I get to the gathering portion and I really start explaining that when it comes to the hero section of this video, you're going to understand why, or at least have a good approach and perspective on why gathering is so vitally important, especially early on and arguably through the mid game of your leveling. And also keep in mind, you will eventually unlock Guanwin, just like you will eventually unlock all of the free-to-play commanders or heroes. It's just a matter of time until you do. However, I'm going to make a solid case on why it's actually better to not start and focus on Peacekeepers early on. So stay tuned for that when we get to the hero section. Okay, so now we've defined League of Order is our faction of choice. Now we'll go ahead and get to the next meat here, which is buildings. So we're going to talk about building priority. And in order to explain this, let me just start off with a simple version, and then I'm going to show you a screenshot here that you can kind of use to go forward with. So everyone knows kind of Hall of Order, right? This is just your city hall. Let's just call it that, right? You always are going to have to upgrade the prerequisites here on exactly what you need in order to get to this point. Now, wall is always going to be constant. You will always have to upgrade the wall. I want to say from level 1, from my understanding, unless that's changed. But the wall is something you're just always going to have to upgrade. Now, the order for wall is always going to go Foundry, Hospital, and then the wall, right? And then anything else that you do... Oh, look, can I finally get a full repair? Sick! God, that green's so nice. So, and then from there, you're going to just be doing a secondary upgrade. You have something else that you'll end up upgrading as well. So here is the prerequisites up to a certain point. And I also want to preface this by saying that if you have the full list, please let me know, and I will include it in the pinned comment. So that way, for anyone that decides to watch this video and check it out, they'll be able to go and take a look at the pinned comment to see if we were able to update it by that point. Otherwise, I'm sure I'll probably come out with a version 2. This is just what some of our team was able to put together so far. I also, if this is correct, right, I'm going to go with 95% sure as far as on these ones. I did check this in game, and so I feel a soft confidence on some of the obvious ones, but these are essentially the secondary buildings that you have to upgrade outside of the wall. Right? So again, the only ones we're really missing is kind of pre-level 5, which isn't that hard to get on a new account, level 9, and then 22, 23, 24, and 25. So again, this is just kind of straightforward. And what this will allow for you to do, and here's really where the benefit comes in, is that you can start upgrading the prerequisites for these buildings when you're in between upgrading the primary prerequisites that you need. You might get to a point where you have 2 builders, but you're only upgraded, but you're only at a point where you're upgrading 1 prerequisite, right? Maybe you're working on the wall and you have a day or more than a day or 16 hours, and you've already fulfilled the second prerequisite to upgrade your City of Order. So in this case, you use that second builder to start working ahead on prerequisites for future building upgrades. This is going to save you more time down the road. So this way you're able to take advantage of things like your building upgrade research speed, which is going to be in the academy, and again we'll touch on that in a bit, but it basically just allows you to min-max and save an overall amount of speed ups once you kind of get to the long run. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and move into point number 3, which is and let me say this as well, right? You always want to do, and this is probably the biggest one, right? You always want to do Alliance Center. So the order you always want to go in, no matter what, is the moment you finish your Hall of Order. I said City of Order, didn't I? When you finish your Hall of Order, you want to then immediately upgrade your Alliance Center, right? That should be the very first thing you do. Why? Because it's giving you helps or additional helps that you need. Then you also want to upgrade College of Order. Now, you do want to check, because once we get to College of Order, I'm going to explain which is next, and I'm going to explain some things on certain level portions that you want to be checking for. But if you're able to skip it at a certain point, and maybe you can do it last outside of the other prereqs, then you can. Otherwise, if you want to do College of Order right after you do your Alliance Center, you can, but again, try to time it out for when you have those important texts that are coming. And that's what we're going to transition into now. So now we're going to talk about College of Order. So College of Order, and we'll go in here. There's specific texts on here you do want to immediately focus. So we're primarily going to be spending our time here in the Academy tree, with the exception of a couple on the military side. So the most important texts here, as they always are in Kingdom Builders, is pretty much going to be the ones that will give you a higher upgrade and research speed. So in this case, it's Architecture, 1 and 2, which is going to be your build speed, and then you're going to have scholarship 1 and 2, which is going to be your research speed. As an example, you can see here that I'm upgrading architecture 2, right? You'll be able to unlock this at your Hall of Order or your City Hall. 16 is when you're able to do your first architecture 2 upgrade. And that kind of gets to my point, is that you want to make sure that you are clicking on these, right? Because you're going to start with architecture 1. Every level, click on it and always max it out. And then you do the prereqs for it. Same thing with scholarship. Once you get to a certain point, click on it and see what level you need in order to unlock this tech, and then the additional levels to upgrade, right? Because you might get this to 3 out of 5, but then it stops because it might tell you, hey, you need to be at level 14 for your city. So just things to always make sure you're checking on. And you basically want to get to a point where you have finished architecture 2 and finished scholarship 2 before you start spending speed ups on anything else, right? Now you can make the argument for spending speed ups on architecture upgrades and your scholarship upgrades if you want. You could also do it the other way, where maybe you wait to spend research speed ups until you finish scholarship 2. This way you're getting the best bang for your buck on these. Now it also means that your architecture 2, especially for the later upgrades that are probably going to take a little bit of time, will, you know, maybe not benefit the most when it comes to then you upgrading buildings, but it really just depends on how you play it, right? So for me, I most likely will go down the path of I'll just let it take its time until I can reach scholarship 2, and then I'll start spending my research speed ups on these, just so I feel as though I'm getting 100% bang for my buck on ROI. Then, once you finish these upgrades, the next ones you want to do is all the gather speed tech upgrades, right? So we're basically going full develop on this play. So that's going to be your rock breaking for ore gather speed, your mana harvesting. This is going to be, I don't think it's these ones. It's not. Yeah, so it's going to be, I think, gold. Yeah, so it's gold mining. And then it's going to be logging techniques, which is 1, right? This is going to further increase your speed there. Then we'll go for ore gather speed again, and we'll go for mana gathering speed. So again, those are ones that you want to work on. Then you're going to get over here to these ones, which is gold, logging, rock, and mana for gathering. So those are the ones you really want to focus on next, is all your gathering speeds. Then we want to start working on supply chains. So supply chains is the one where this is going to increase general overall gathering speed. Now, I'm going to say this because you basically want to work on these in tandem. It's not as though you kind of want to work on one or the other before. You basically want to combine these two for just all gather speed techs. But I mentioned it aside because it is technically kind of its own tech. But it does pretty much the same thing. It just gives you an overall, right? So again, working on supply chains is probably the next big focus there. So you can max that out, because it is, and when I think about it logically, it's probably better to do that because that's going to give you an overall boost to everything. It's just that while you're working on those, right, if you're able to do the other gather speed upgrades, then go ahead. But yes, ideally, if we're trying to min-max, you want to probably max out supply chains too before you end up doing the other gather speeds. But because it's the last tech, point being is that you might have to already do a lot of these prereqs before you get to this point. So there's something to keep in mind. Then next you want to do breath control 1, which is going to be, where's my breath control? Here we go. Which is going to be CP recovery speed. So you have breath control, which is CP recovery speed, and then we have, oh gosh, where is it? Why do I feel like I'm losing it here? Oh, sorry, stamina. It was right above. Stamina, which is increases max CP, command points. This is what you're using to attack PvE, like the Darkling units, etc. The reason why we want to go recovery speed over increase is because recovery speed is going to give us more command points faster than we will if we're just increasing the total. That's not increasing the recovery speed or the rate in which we get more command points overall. So you always want to work on recovery speed for basically getting more command points before you work on increasing your top end or your total amount of command points. So that's why we're going in order of stamina 1, breath control 1, and then here you want to do breath control 2. Now, if you can get to breath control 2 without having to do stamina 1 and you finish it, then do that. And then you'll go stamina 1 and then you'll go stamina 2, right? But the reason why we said it is because you basically are probably going to have to do stamina 2 while you're going into breath control 2. So there's a chance you might have to get this to 10 out of 10 before you can get breath control 2 out of 10 out of 10. Then we're going to go into military leadership. So military leadership, let me see, where did I have this? 10 bucks says I already passed it, hopefully not. I feel pretty good about it, but hang on. It's right here. Oh, where's the first one? 10 bucks says I passed it, and people are calling me out on the video right now. I just feel, oh, here we go. I feel it. So then we're going to do military leadership. This is hero XP bonus. So that's important, obviously, because this is going to help the rate at which your heroes are leveling and progressing. And then we're going to go ahead and work on military leadership 2, which again is going to increase, and then I'll actually give you another 10%, right? So you get 15% there for EXP gain. Then we're going to work on weak points 1 and 2. So weak points is going to be giving us, here we go. This is going to be peacekeeping damage, right? So you get 5% for that one. And then we got weak points too, which I think this should be 10%, right? So you're looking at 15% additional peacekeeping damage that you're going to work on. And then really it's RSS production tech, right? So you might have general things like, gosh, let me see here. Where is it? That's right here, right? Where it says further increases foundry or production. The reason why it's important to increase your RSS production tech within the city is because these are helpful for specific events where they'll give you resources or rewards based on the amount that you collect within your city. So this is also going to be important because once you get to max level, then you're going to be able to add boosting items on top of these. So you'll actually end up outputting and receiving more rewards for these specific types of events. And then the last one is going to be your Legion capacity upgrade, right? So you're going to end, this one is, I think it's container if I'm right. Yeah, so it's going to be container upgrade. So again, this is going to be for increasing Legion load capacity, right? Which is going to be, right, for your resource load, right? So basically just more that you can carry per. This will probably end up helping you a lot more for kind of later game when you get to those level 4 and 5 RSS tiles, and then if they decide to expand that at any point. Some people might be wondering, Land of the Plenty, right? This is obviously something where it increases resources collected within your city. This is just a general one, kind of like that all gathering, kind of like the, what was it, the supply chains. And then next, you're going to end up, and there's really only a couple more here, then we're going to go into the military tree, and we're going to do conscription 1 and 2. So conscription is train speed, right? So there's 1, and you're going to find conscription 2, which is going to be training speed increase. You got 10% on that one, and we got 10% here, right? So you're looking at 20% for increased training speed for your barrack units. So this is going to be good to do. Then we're going to go ahead and get into heroes. So heroes is the next one that we're going to touch on. Now, I'm going to say this. My focus so far has primarily been on gathering heroes. And this is, like I said, loosely what I wanted to talk about in the first section where we touched on factions, right? And why I feel blue faction is just the better overall choice. So through my time playing so far, right, as a free-to-play, haven't spent any money on this account, gathering to me and just having a plentiful amount of resources is extremely important. It almost feels more important in this game than in the 2 previous kingdom builders I played, being Rise of Kingdoms and Infinity Kingdom. That's my opinion on it, right? Some of you might differ if you're on more, you know, maybe more throughout the day. I'm on around, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, just kind of passive while I'm doing things and checking in periodically. So for me, this thing is really important because I feel that doing this is going to be a lot better than focusing on peacekeepers. Now, the reason I say this is because when you have 2 commanders or 2 heroes and you're attacking a Darkling, you're splitting the EXP instead of getting the full EXP for 1 commander. So my hero, dear Lord. So my recommendation, this is what I've been doing now. I just realized it too late. Is I'm focusing on leveling my Kella and your Chakcha, which are your 2 gathering commanders or heroes. There's also Ordo, right? And he does have a gathering speed, which is here. He doesn't necessarily have a gathering tree. And something you'll notice when you're focusing on talents is that pretty much, I want to say every hero is able to get the Logistics Master, which increases your Legion's gather speed by 9%. But when I was looking around through all the talent trees, I just didn't notice any other options for gathering related talents if you do not have a gather talent tree. So in this case, right, my focus is going to be Kella and Chakcha. And when I make, and eventually whenever, if I do, make another new account, I will focus on these 2 heroes first. I will basically get them to a point where I am going to max them out before as far as max the gather tree out, right? So based on this, if I'm going correctly, I have, 8 right? So I'm going to have to get them to 43, right? Was that right? 36, 37, 38, 39, 40? Yeah. So I'll have to get them to 43 in order to max out the gathering tree. So once I get them to 43, then I will start going back and focusing on my peacekeeping heroes, unless I need to keep increasing their power level in order to be able to full gather the higher RSS nodes. Then I might keep leveling them, or I might do it once that moment comes. But that is something that I've been noticing is so important. And this is why I think it's also good. If we go through the gathering tree, right, there's a few notes I'm going to make here on what I've been doing, and I'll tell you what my path is. So for all the gatherers, this is my path. Starting, we'll do march speed of your Legion units, because the faster that your workhorses march to a point and back, right, the faster you'll basically be able to send them back out to keep gathering more. We'll do Logistics Master. I want to say you have to do this, so but it might be different depending. Then you'll do Transport Speed, right, which is what you have to do. Then because this hero is Kella is gold, right, for their primary, we're going to double down on that. So anything that's gold will level. So we'll do Veteran Goldsmith. Then I decided to do Ore Gather Speed in order to supplement, right? So my idea was, let me look at my 3 heroes that have gathering skills, and let me try and add percentages to whichever gathering skill I have the lowest amount for, right? That isn't relevant for this specific hero. So that way I can still get some benefit out of it, even if this hero is not the only one to gather that specific type. And then from there, I ended up going, Quick Harvest, which is increases your Legion's gather speed by 20%, but reduces their load capacity by 10. Versus if you do reduce gather speed by 10, increase load capacity by 20, right? Because the idea is that you're eventually going to train enough units anyways to gather a full tile. So I would rather have faster gathering speed. That just makes more sense, and I'll gather more overall per. Then between these two, it increases maximum Legion capacity. I don't really need that, right, because my units have a higher RSS load cap. Then I'm going to do increases march speed, right? So I'm kind of doubling down even more on the previous skill, or talent, excuse me. And then between these 3, right, which is Legion composed entirely transport, it has immunity slow. Don't really need that. You know, your Legion transport units take 2% less damage. Again, most of the time you're farmers are not really going to be taking damage. So we're going to go Logistics Master, which is increasing overall gather speed. This is going to give me another 15%. Then, when we get to the second to last, Earth's Grace, when a Legion finishes gathering resources, the hero receives XP equal to 0.4%. Right? If we times this by 5 at this rate, we're probably looking at 2% at the max. That's just an estimation, up to a maximum of 20,000 EXP per day. Then we have, if your Legion is attacked while gathering, you have an 8% chance to be recalled. Right? So again, I don't really see that as a big one. When your Legion is composed entirely of transport units, they cannot be intercepted. So again, these are kind of like PvP gathering. So I'm most likely going to take this one, which is going to increase EXP on these. So once I get them to a certain point, you could even make the argument maybe you'll just max them out here and then go. But it is going to be important to get one of these, right? Receive additional reward items when your Legion depletes a resource point, which is Windfall. And this one, when your Legion has been gathering for 1 hour and completes the task, resource production in your city increases by 50% for 1 hour. This is interesting, and I say that because it just needs to be tested. I wonder if this can be stacked, where you can basically re-trigger it every hour. So let's say, for example, in this scenario, right, your hero, and of course this would require you to be on quite a bit, right, where you'd gather for an hour, and then you would, where is it? Oh, I see here, my bad, and completes the task. That probably means you have to full gather the tile. See, my thinking was maybe if you didn't have to full gather the tile, you gather for an hour, you go back to the city, then you send them back out. So this actually looks like you probably have to gather the tile. But I'm sure over time you'll figure out, right, which tiles might be relevant. Maybe you even do a staggered send out, but yeah, it's kind of hard. So I think most likely Windfall is probably going to be the one I go with, which is receives additional reward items when your Legion depletes a resource point. That's similar to what you're going to get if you were running the red faction as well. Then from here, right, I think Peacekeepers, you have 4, right? You have, and we'll show you what those are. So you have Nika, which is a legendary Peacekeeper. We have Eliana, which is a epic Peacekeeper, we have Guanwin, which we showed for the starting faction for Spring Wardens, which is a epic Peacekeeper. And then we have, where's my other one here, is Lilia. So Lilia is here. So we have Lilia, and this is the one you spend like $1 or something like that, right, for your first purchase. And again, she is another Peacekeeper. So there's currently 4 Peacekeepers and 2 True Gatherers, right? Remember, this is beta. They're going to come out with more heroes. We know that. That is a fact. But these are the 4 that you have. My recommendation, again, right, remember, we're making this video and this guide from a free-to-play perspective, is to be sure that you are leveling your epic peacekeeping heroes first, right? And then you can work on one legendary at a time. So focusing here on Eliana and then Guanwin. Now, let's just focus for a moment on these ones, right? So as usual, you want to make sure that you're leveling up the skills appropriately, right? So just to kind of go back to the gatherers here, what I ended up doing was doing the second skill, right? So you level, I think I had to level to 10, and then I was able to increase 1 star, and then you upgrade, right? So I go to skills, I'll upgrade, I'll do the star upgrade, and then once I get there, then I'll go ahead and just start using my skills, because I basically want to increase the odds. I want to have a 50-50 chance, because it basically, when you upgrade, when you add another star and it opens another skill for you, and then you go to upgrade your skills, it will upgrade one of these 2, right? You can't really lock it in for this one. So the reason why you wouldn't want to open a third is because then you have a 33% chance of upgrading the one you want. Instead, you only do 2. That way you have a 50% chance of upgrading that. And that kind of goes for the skills that you specifically need, right? In this case, with Chakcha, you're going to go for this one, which is the Orc Gatherer Speed, his second. Okay, then when we get to Eliana, you can see here, right, damage, and that's exactly what I did. So I did like a 1-5-1. I got really lucky here too as well with my rolls, but you can see I got the one I wanted, which is Eliana Legions deal 25% more damage to Darkling and Darkling creatures, right? And then instead of trying to upgrade this, I wanted to go for the third one, right, which is Eliana's Legion takes 10% less normal attack damage. Now I could make the argument, yeah, maybe I need to just to max out the first skill, and you could do that, but if I wanted to try and reach more in the tree, then, you know, and as far as go through more of the talent tree to start getting those passives, and also because she's a legendary, so it's, or sorry, with an epic, right, just depending on what I'm using first, it just might take a little bit longer, so I'd rather be able to continue leveling up, even though really the stars at this point are mainly just going to be upgrading the skills. So, you know, again, it's up to you as far as on how you want to go about that, right? Do you just want to leave her at 2 stars and not go? I just opted to go for a third one, but the better play probably is to stay at 2, max out the active skill, because that's going to be the one you're going to be able to generate more often, and then you can start worrying about the futures. With Guanwin, same thing, right? Not so lucky. I'm kind of going 50-50 on my skill upgrades, but the second one is the one you want for the peacekeeping damage. For Nika, in this one, right, the second one is the one you want, get up to 30%, and then we end up having our girl Lilia, who I believe is going to be the second as well, right? Yeah, 30%. So again, that's going to be the focus when it comes to peacekeepers. And then for engineering, right, you're going to have Craig and Ordo. So these are going to be the ones that are really important when it comes to building and the destruction of buildings. So Craig, this is the one you want, where it's, I think it's his third, or is it fourth? I'm tripping. Yeah, so engineering bonus when building, right? So Craig's Legion's engineering is increased by 10 up to 20 when building barricades and alliance buildings, right? That's flags, fortresses, that you'll be able to do a lot faster. Then we end up having Ordo, which I want to say his is third, no, second? It is. So engineering bonus while building, and then bonus to engineering when destroying. So he's got 20% across the board, and his pops up second. So Ordo is usually the one you want to try and level first, because you'll get it sooner than you will for Craig, and he works on both. So this will allow for you to have 2 heroes that you can use for doing building together. Or, you know, if you have to destroy 2 flags, you got to build a fort and then build a flag, or build 1 flag and destroy the other flag, right? So this is just going to help you basically use those for when you're building or destroying in just a faster and more efficient manner. Okay, then we get to the PvE section here. So PvE section is pretty simple, right? Essentially what you want to do is you want to micro your units in a way, and this will actually help you. And all of mine are really busy right now, but I'll give you an example here. And actually, I'll link it in another video that I have too as well in the description down below. But in short, this will allow for you to attack higher level Darklings than what 1 could do, or what 2 could do if you're basically attacking them and then the Darkling's hitting you back. So what you essentially do is you take 2 units, preferably range, right? I would take, you could do it with siege, but it might be easier to do it with your actual true range, like if it's an archer or mage, because they have a little bit farther distance than your siege range does. And you put them on opposite sides of the Darkling. You attack with one, and then you use this one to support. Once the Darkling starts getting close to the unit that it's running towards, you start moving it up, right? And then the Darkling will chase you. Eventually, the aggro will stop, and it'll pull over to the support unit. And then you're just doing the same thing, right? Once it gets close, you move it up. And you want to do it to where you're staying in range of each other. So you have to know the range of your unit so that way they can continuously shoot while they're doing it. You can also have the Darkling kind of run in a circle. Something I like to do if they spawn nearby something is I'll try and aggro pull them to a tile or a city, because you can run around the city, and that's another easier way to do it, where I could have a unit here, and then the Darkling's just chasing me around the tile, and eventually this unit will aggro pull, and then once the Darkling starts running this way, now this unit here will start attacking. So that just is a nice little trick that we've noticed, where it allows you to pretty much take 0 damage if you do it right, and you can stay out longer, which is going to reduce your command points, because when you start off it'll be 50, and then as you go out and you keep attacking more and more, right, you'll eventually get that down to 40 command points. And then now, instead of you spending, let's say you had 5 marches, instead of you spending 250 command points, now you're spending 200 command points. Or if you're just leveling, let's say you're 2 gatherers, now instead of spending 100, you're spending 80 command points, right? And that's going to, and basically once you get to your 5th unit, you're getting it for free at that point, right? Because over that time, you spent 40 twice, that's 160. Now you're getting another 40, that's 200. If you did it where you attacked the unit, and then they came back to your city, and then you attacked it again, you're using 50 points each time, right? So you're only able to kill 4 while using 200 command points instead of doing it 5, right? And again, that's once you get it to 40, you'll start getting that, right? So it's not going to be your first 5 or your first 4. Then we get to PvP. So PvP is pretty straightforward, right? When you're in a kingdom, my recommendation here, because you're looking to kind of get merits, and I'm going to show you what this means too as well. So you're going to go to your store here, and you're going to go here where it says Merit Store. You get merits from battles. Merits can be used to purchase items in the Merit Store. There is no limit on the amount of merits that can be gained, but merits will be reset at every UTC every Monday, so once a week, and up to 20,000 merits can be kept till the next week. Your merits will not be reset upon leaving your current alliance, so you'll keep those, right? There's just a chance that they might get reset on Monday. So the important part here, when we're looking at the merit stores, you actually have some stuff that you could really use, right? To me, I think the most important ones here are going to be the speed ups, and then you're going to be looking at like the 24-hour gathering, right? You could make an argument for gold keys too as well, which I think will be, right? So you kind of have your daily supply, and you see here your weekly supply. So it's going to be your gold keys, it's going to be your hour speed ups. Now you have these ones, right, which is your 20,000 unit instantly heal severely wounded units. These are actually going to be great if you're able to accumulate these as well, now that I'm thinking about it. And then you have these ones, right? So these are all 20,000 unit medical supplies. So getting gold keys, getting speed ups, and then maxing out the speed ups that you can get in your daily is going to be good. And you even have basic CP recovery, right? So there's a lot of good things here in the merit store, actually. And I wonder if maybe I just didn't scroll down last time, so I was only seeing the daily. But again, right, getting your speed ups, your command points, any gold keys that you can get, right, in priority. And then you can kind of start looking at getting your unit medical supplies, because those are things that you can start stocking up that are probably going to really help in battles. But how are you going to be able to gain merits, right, if you have to do PvP, if you have to go and attack people? So I've always loved the idea of games adding in something that incentivizes PvP. However, one of the ways that I often find is something good to do where, let's just say you don't want to stir the pot, right, or ruffle any feathers. What you do is you go out and you look for players that are not progressing, right? Maybe they're in a low-level alliance. And, right, something I would do, let me just give you an example. And I do this because I just find that this is respectable. It doesn't mean that everyone is going to view it that way. Some people might just view this as, hey, this is a war game. They might simplify it too, and they're just going to go out and fight and do whatever they want. But I'll give you an example. I would look for a alliance that doesn't have a lot of territory, right? A week, 2 weeks have gone by. There's just not a lot. Also, bear in mind the merit store doesn't open up immediately. You do have to wait for it to open. So I might look at this alliance and say, okay, cool. Let me click on this and let me see where they're at. Okay, so they're 2.1 mil. At this point in the game, that is pretty small, right? So what I would do is I would probably look at the players and say, okay, 100K, this person's probably not active. This person is a farm as the officer, so it's pretty clear. But I would still take a moment to just go and send them a message, right? And I would probably just say, hi. Oops, hang on here. Hi, I wanted to check and see if you and or your alliance is still active, or if you have any active members, right? Something like that. And then I would just send that off as an example, right? And I would try to do that ahead of time. So if I start noticing that alliances are really small, I would draft some type of copy-paste template message, and I'll message the leader and all the officers. And if I don't hear anything back, right, let's say in a day or two, then I'll say to myself, okay, this alliance probably isn't active, and I'll just go ahead and maybe start looking for their players to go and hit. Why? Because you've kind of figured out. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you could actually go through and message every player in their alliance, right? Because if you draft up a message, you just have to copy paste it. Obviously, if you're doing it on a computer, you could still do it on a phone too as well. It just might take a little bit longer. But then you could go through each player, and I could just message everyone. Right? Maybe what you would do is you would message some of the higher powered players. So maybe I'd message this guy Spezzy, this guy Masters, possibly here, and then I'll go, oh, interesting. Oh, never mind. I thought this was maybe like a sign or something. Yeah, so maybe I'll go through and I'll just like look at the highest power player people, and I'll just message them. Or you can message everyone, right? It really just depends on how far you want to go. My view on it is that if you're doing the bare minimum, which is the leader and the officers, that's great. However, if you do want to go full board and just really kind of, cover yourself from, for your moral integrity, then, message every player, right? Because it'll take a few minutes of your time just to copy paste that. And then if you don't hear anything back, it's free game, right? Then it's just a matter of going and sending your troops there to go hit cities, right? And then see if you can just gain some merit points that way. You can also do things, for example, like organizing PvP. Maybe you reach out to another alliance and you say, hey, we'd love to start building up merit points. Can we organize some fun PvP, right? Where we're basically just, we'll bring 20, you bring 20, or we'll just have an alliance fight, right? Just even numbers, so to speak. Because remember, the benefit is that you get to fight, you get to test out some PvP tactics, and more importantly, people get to gain merits, right? You could even come up with a daily time, right? Or every other day, or once a week, whatever it is, where you have a certain location in your region where you guys just do PvP to help each other merit boost, right? If players know they can get more rewards, they will also be incentivized to go out and fight and to do PvP, especially if the alliances are organizing it in a fun, healthy way. It's one of the easiest ways to sell organized PvP in just one way of doing it, right? I don't want to give away all my secrets. Okay, now we'll go ahead and talk about policies. Because where am I at? 38 minutes. Wow, killing it. Okay, really, people are like, can you shorten this, boss? Yeah, for sure. All right, so policies, right? The focus here is going to be War Studies first, because this is going to increase Hero XP bonus. War Studies 2, which you can see I'm doing, right? Look at me, right? I've only done the bare minimum that I've needed to get to these things, I think with the exception of this ranged 4. And that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing purely on this. But what I'm realizing is I have to actually get this artifact experience, I believe, up to 10, or there's a good chance I might have to get it up to 10 before I do this, because I'm doing this one now. So I have a feeling that I'll probably have to get it to 10 before I can get this to 15, which means that I won't be able to get War Studies to 15 before that, which isn't bad. Targeted, this is peacekeeping damage, right, for targeted tactics, so it's not bad. Artifact XP is double arcane chance, right, when I'm attacking, I believe it's the patrols, the non-Darkling titlings. So again, that's the focus I'm doing here. And then eventually you want to get to military expansion, right? So military expansion is Legion capacity, right? That's going to allow you to have a higher capacity when you're out doing PvP. Also, higher Legion capacity that might help you with farming. So you're going to do a Legion capacity 1, military expansion 1, military expansion 2, and you're going to go here for 3. Then, as we said, artifact expertise 1 and 2, and then you're going to do targeted tactics, even though we're kind of already doing it. And then really, you're going to do ranged drills 1 and 2, And then you can do marksman drills or magic drills. The reason I say that is because ranged drills is general, right? This increases range unit damage dealt. So this is any ranged units that you have, right? So it's kind of like that all gathering speed versus doing ore gathering speed bonuses or wood or gold, right? So you're kind of getting a general boost for everyone instead of just one unit type at a time. And then, like I said, you do marksman drills or magic drills that you can do. And these ones, I believe, are going to be, here we go, right? Marksman or magic, right? So these are going to be for marksman damage. These will be for magic damage, right? Because, again, these are kind of more distance ones. So if you like the idea of having a little bit more range damage than upfront or close damage, then this is going to be a benefit, especially because it'll also play a factor if you decide to do any kind of PvE micro-kiting, where you're kind of back and forth pulling aggro like we showed before. This is something that will help you out in that endeavor versus if you went straight melee or close range combat. So that's my recommendation there. The only other ones really is kind of like medical supplies and some of these, right, where it's kind of the decision of, hey, do you want to increase the daily resource healing at your hospital, or do you want to increase daily free healing, right? So it says daily resource healing plus 40, or you could have increased daily healing. So I think it just depends on what you view, right? If you're getting a lot of resources, then I don't think going resource healing is bad, just because you might end up needing to heal them faster than the daily free healing is doing it. Part of me just feels like medical supplies, something that's kind of more resource healing based, especially if you're doing everything to invest in getting more resources faster, is going to benefit a lot more than doing the free healing. However, right, because I haven't had a chance to really test these yet, this is just what my thought process is kind of in my rationale logic. If someone has been testing this, I'd love to hear in the comments below, and if the logic is sound, then I'll definitely add it to the pinned comment. Now we're done with policies, so let's go to Dragon Trail. So Dragon Trail is essentially your expedition, right? This is what you're going to do in order to gain a lot of rewards, and you get daily loot rewards too as well that you can see here. You also can do quick loot, which is something you should do every day. You get a free one every, and then you can also use gems, but you do at least get a free one. And then you have the store. Now the store is great because it lets you start investing into specific heroes earlier on. Maybe you need to max out your gathering heroes fast, right? So I'll just purchase a bunch here. You get the refreshes, you get one free refresh, right? So again, focusing on kind of heroes first, and then you can look at like things such as speed ups and then resources or any boost items. But this is great to do. My recommendation here for Dragon Trail is check this daily. As you're leveling up and you're progressing, keep trying to progress in this as fast and as soon as you can every day. The reason why is because you get a bunch of rewards for doing this, right? I'll give you an example here. So the rewards I get is this, right? But when I do the branch out sections, right, you'll see I get keys, right? So I'm getting keys, I'm getting speed ups, and eventually if I get to 8, you can see here, right? I'm getting some more residents, I'm getting some shards, and then bam, more keys, right? Look, even gold key, even get a gold key there. And then once I get over here to 12, right, if I do these, I get I think it's a gold key. Yeah, it is. I have to remember the difference between that and an artifact and universal artifact, right? Gold key. Right now I'm getting more gold keys. And now I'm at 13, 14, right? I made it to 15. I really haven't progressed any farther than that, even though I can, right? I'm just kind of being lazy. That's just me. Don't be me. So, but the idea is you want to try and keep leveling these, and you always want to do the side missions. In my opinion, I think the side missions are actually easier than doing the star ones. Just because there's a pretty good consistency to it, but you want to keep doing these as much as you can. These are free rewards and free resources on the daily, so do not slip on these like I have. Okay, now we're going to get to VIP. So when we talk about VIP, I am a big believer in VIP that you should just max VIP, right? That's the number one focus where you should be putting red gems into, with a catch that we're going to talk about. For spending, here we go. So this is something that you want to try and work on. So there's a few things here. If you hit the plus sign here, and unfortunately this is the only way I have found to get to VIP, is you have to click on the building and then that shield. If there's another way that someone's figured out how to get here faster, please let me know, because I never found a VIP button at the top. So you get daily honor points for consecutive logins, right? So you just basically want to collect that for free, and then you're good to go. The important ones here that you want to get to, and I'll show you here, is going to be your VIP 5, because you're going to get an epic hero token daily. And then the next one here is going to be your VIP 8, because you get permanently unlocking a second research queue. This is not an additional building queue. This is a second research queue. So you can arguably have 2 queues going in your academy or your college of order in order to, no pun intended, enable where you're able to then develop and progress your academy tech that much faster. So this is really where you want to get. These should be kind of your minimum goals. And then eventually, right, you're going to get gold key. So once you get to level 9, VIP 9, then you're going to get 1 gold key per day. I don't believe we end up getting 2 when I checked last. Yeah, so you don't. But that is something to look at, right? So you kind of have your areas there, which is your VIP 5, 8, and 9, right? So trying to get to 9 is going to be ideal so you get the daily gold key. That's going to help out a lot. And then, of course, getting that second research queue. Now, in order to unlock a second building queue, you have to save, I think it was 5,000 red gems, unless they changed it again. I think someone told me it was 3,000, then maybe it went up to 5,000. So, but you'll be able to see that, right? When you go out, if you try and click a second builder after your contracts are up, you want to focus on that, right? That should be, in my opinion, your primary goal is to unlock that second builder if you're free to play. So spend the gems on that first and then go into VIP. You're going to be able to get that pretty quick as long as you save everything, and it's going to help you out a lot. And then you can start working on your VIP improvement. Then we're going to talk about events. So events to me are pretty straightforward. When the game starts, just read everything, right? Go up here to the top right, click on the sword with the scroll, and just click every event. Click and read every task. Complete everything that you can daily, and if you can read up on things that are happening in the future, read up on those things, right? So if there's tasks for another day that you can see to maybe plan ahead, do that. In addition, there's also going to be a section that I'm adding to my sheet, and I'm going to show that to you here. And again, it is still a work in progress, so don't judge me too hard on this one. But if we go here, I'm building out right here, Kingdom event timeline. So I'm kind of showing, and once server 5 comes out, I'll fully finish and build this out more. This is just what I have so far. And then you can see here on the events tab, I have a list of events that I've taken down, and everything's in alphabetical order left to right. So it should be pretty easy to find, but I'm going to build this out even more. And for anyone that wants to help, if you already have some more hair, please feel free. This basically just covers which specific events are going on for which days that you can see here. So I'm hoping this will help out people a lot. I just have to spend a little time on it once the new server comes out. But you can keep checking this periodically, and I'll have a link to this sheet as well in the description of the video just to help out a bit more. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get to that covers events. So we're going to talk a little bit about artifacts. So artifacts to me, and I believe I'm going to have to go to heroes here for this one. So yeah, because I have to click on... Oh, hang on, I'm tripping. Where is... Oh, hang on, events. Oops, sorry. I'm at items. Here we go. Chest. And then I'm going to go to... Oops, hang on. Where is it? Oh, no. Those are just available artifacts that I have. Ooh. I know what I have to do. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. We will replace. Here we go. So this shows all the artifacts that we have. Now, I'm only going to talk about a couple here that I think are just important that are going to help out. So you have one called Salve, which is heal slightly wounded units in a target legion, right? This is helpful if you are doing PvE, if you're doing PvP. There's another one here, which is a legendary one. It's called Wolfpack. And I'm going to find it. Just don't have all of them memorized yet because the game is still new. People are like, boss, we don't care. We just need you to get your stuff together. So Wolfpack, right, which is casts on up to 10 friendly legions in a designated circle, increasing damage they deal to darklings and dark creatures. So if you guys are barb chaining or you're going out and doing darkling hunting, right, these are things that can really help that out, especially if you're trying to stay out as long as you can and you're just eventually fighting level 25s, right? I think this can really help. Then we have the next one, which is Divine Mercy. This is an AoE heal, and I think I passed it. 10 bucks says I already did. Ancient Tree Roots. That looks like it should be close. We're going to find it. Divine. 10 bucks says I passed it, and I have no idea. Maybe I got it wrong. Oh, here it is. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. 10 friendly. Yeah, healing. Here it is. Wow. Oh. Tear of Arbin, but the level, oh wow, so weird. Oh, I guess that's the name of the skill that the item gives? Well, we found it. So this one casts on up to 10 friendly legions in a designated circle, healing lightning wounded units every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. Healing factor is 400. Obviously, you can still upgrade these two as well. So that's going to be number 3. The other one is going to be an epic skill called Quick Gather, and it's this one here, Green Finger Sickle. Casts while gathering gold, wood, ore, and mana. Immediately gathers 100,000 of the current resource from a resource point. Resources gathered cannot exceed the Legion's resource amount, right? And this cooldown is every 12 hours. So this is a great way where you can basically just grab 200k resources every day for free the moment you get to an RSS tile. So again, right, just a nice way that you can keep increasing, and maybe you can actually increase this amount that it gathers as well from leveling it up. I just haven't unlocked it yet, but I imagine and assume that you can. I don't think this gives us any breakdown. No, it doesn't. But again, dope item. I actually really like the creativity of a lot of these artifacts, that they have skill usages or just, you know, use outside of stats. So that's something that I've been really enjoying. Now, gathering arcane dust is what you need to upgrade these and others, and that's basically you going out on the field and attacking the dark creatures, right? You get arcane dust. That's what you need to level up your artifacts, along with some of the shards for the other level, because you have a basic level and you have like the skill level, very similar to how you have it with a hero. And so these are so that's again what you're going to end up using. Now, lastly, there's going to be these ones, which is Darkling Guards. These are ones you want to do in groups, right? So you're going to get these keys just from passively hitting PvE units. And when you do these, you're going to summon, like I'll search this and you can see here's a level 18 Dark Chest, right? It has a timer on it. You want to do these in groups, right? It's better to do it with a couple people than just yourself. Next one is going to be scout camps, right? So the scouting is actually pretty cool because they have a lot of different options that you can do. I'll just show you some here. You can see supplies, and I'll just kind of show you a quick version. So if I click on one and I gather it, then it'll automatically take me to nearby. Now, really what nearby means is that it's going to search the entire map for every type of these that I have not touched yet, and it's going to automatically take me there, right? So I can just keep chaining this all day long and do it pretty quick, right? Then you're going to also have camps. So camps are going to be options that you can choose certain units on here that you want to go with. And so it'll give you a couple options, right? We'll do just 2 or 3 just so I can show you, right? In these cases, the order I go in usually is gems. I'll do transport units, continent maps, and then some of the ranged units, right? So for me, that's just kind of the order that I like to go in, just depending on what's available, right? So between these, I'll probably do Vestals just to show you a couple versions. Okay. And then we have, what I have, camp supplies, camp, here we go, adventure camp discovered. We'll do one of these. And I actually thought that was going to show me something else. Psh, how dare they? Here we go, villages. So this is the third one. So we'll do this. I'll visit the village. These are ones that actually will have, these are kind of like engaging, interactive ones where you have to click on it and then it'll give you rewards. I'm actually going to figure these ones out because I just haven't had any time yet. But in short, I'm going to look at all of these and look at what the answers are, and then I'm going to write down all of the reward types. So hopefully that might help if you're looking for specific resources early on, or maybe just a different option. And then the last one I think is going to be the game that we have to do. Treasure fragment. No, it's not that. Camp village. Well, there is one. I don't know if I have it here listed, but essentially what it does is it's a card game. It's like 4 cards that are there, and then they'll basically rotate, and you have to try and find the one that says huge success to get the best rewards that you can. So you kind of have to follow the cards a little bit. And then we are going to finally get to quests here, because this is turning out to be a long video, but important because we do cover a lot. And I'm sure there's even some things that I'm forgetting that we haven't touched on, but as our version 1, trying to do as much as we can. So then we get to quests, right? So that's going to be your scroll up here top left, and you're going to end up seeing, right, main quests, your side quests, right, to kind of do just while you're doing that, right? Always trying to do as many main quests as you can is going to be the ideal play there. Then we get here, and this is loosely connected to VIP, and I'm going to explain why. So daily challenges, you always want to try and do these every single day, right, to get the most amount of points that you can, because these are kind of attached to your season rewards, right, that you can get. And I believe this goes up to 100 or 80. Oh, there we go. So it goes up to 80. And I can unlock these if I want to spend some money to do that, and you'll get some additional rewards. However, when we go to challenges, you have daily, weekly, and seasonal, right? So if I go to weekly, you can see here that timer and then seasonal timer there. These are the weekly ones that you want to try and hit. 4,000, 3,000, particularly in the lines of building construction, right? This is where you would do like slow construction builds where you just send one unit and you can kind of milk those. Destroy 10 forts, and then here's this one. Use 3,000 gems and you get 80 of these rune XPs. So if you're able to time this out, and again, it may not always happen, but I just wanted to show you that there's at least something here. I don't know if there's an event yet that focuses on getting rewards for gems. Like if you play Rock, you know, there's a more than gems event. I don't know if there's something in this game yet because I just haven't taken a look at all the events that are there. However, if there is one, please do let me know in the comments below. Then we get to seasonal challenges, right? You can kind of see how long you have here left on the seasonal challenges. And really it's just a matter of looking at each of these, going through them, and then trying to complete these right as soon as you can to get as far as you can in the rewards. These are the defeat Darkling Legions, and I told you this is how you kind of build up your Darkling keys, and you pretty much do it passively. And then you get to your exploration requests. This is where you'll do your wonder requests that you'll see here. You'll have seasonal adventures that you'll have to do. And then this is where you look at the breakdown, right? So if I go up, these are the wonders that I found, and this is what you'll get if you complete them. So if you click it, it'll basically show you the quest. You'll click go, and it'll take you to what you need to do. So just making sure that you're kind of min-maxing and doing as much as you possibly can is going to be a big benefit. Lastly, I guess if I was to show something here from Hall of Order, this is just kind of when you get your marches, right? So you'll get 3, you can see here you get 2 marches at 5, 3 marches at 11, 4 at 17, and then you get 5 at 22. So that's pretty much it for me. I actually wasn't expecting for this video to be that long, but given how much information there is and that I'm going to be time-stamping everything out, I hope at least those of you who have watched this fully, and if you've got to this point, please give yourself a round of applause. I hope you enjoyed me diving into everything that there is, and of course, please let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video. Did I do a good job covering everything, even though, yeah, I could probably admit myself it's a little bit longer than I would have liked, but because it is our version 1 video, I did want to make sure I covered everything well enough, and I'll try to remember to put a link to the best practices guide that I have in a Word document in the description as well. So that is it for me. As always, I hope you guys enjoy. Until next time, I will catch y'all later.